His influence has been enormous, and this session, I think, needed much more time to really discuss these two rich papers. Anyway, now I open the floor to questions. We will first have questions from this side, and then so that there is equality.
A wonderful presentation to both of you doctors. My name is Jonathan Wilson-Guite. I was here in the afternoon. I'm sorry I had to catch up with my niece. I was here, but I went back, I came back again. I heard your presentation. My question to you is Ambedkar's view on women in politics. Yes, I mean, whatever you presented, it's a wonderful presentation. Now, when you see the role of women in Indian politics, especially from the Northeast, you have the Garo community, with the Khasi community, who is a matrilineal society, who are the heads of the family, not the male. Now, they're in the civil services, the state services, the paramilitary forces. They're mostly leading the administration in various state governments. Now, where do you see Ambedkar's vision of the woman in the Northeast in Indian politics? That's my question to you.
Patil ma'am. Okay, so we know that Ambedkar was very much concerned about the upliftment of women status in Indian society. I was wondering about those women who are illiterate and poverty stricken. I guess due to illiteracy and poverty, they are not aware of their rights and women empowering policies. So, as we know that women literacy rate is very much lower compared to men in our society. So, I was wondering, can we say that women's policies, the government has been implementing so many policies for women upliftment, but can we say that it's only on the papers, the development is not happening on the actual ground in actual terms?
Okay, thank you.
My question is regarding the first paper, which is that, what ma'am just said, that Muslims, Ambedkar's views that Muslims are a small minority with safeguards in India at the end of the day, rather than a sovereign group or a sovereign nation. So this dilemma which, groups like BMMA, the Bharati Muslim Mahila Andolan, and other activists who are fighting against things like the triple talaq are facing, can we actually go about resolving this quandary? Can there actually, even at this, especially at this critical juncture, can there even be a tentative resolve to this quandary as to how do we reconcile this thing, that this fight for justice for women and this bitter realization that at the end of the day Muslims remain a small minority only with safeguards and rather than a sovereign.
Minority, right. Anybody from this? Should we shift this side? I think we've got three. Yes.
Well, thank you very much for a brilliant presentation. My question goes to the first speaker. Is very much known and the beginning was made by Dr. Rosa Ambedkar long back. I am referring to intercaste marriage or intermarriage, the term which he used in his annihilation of caste. Now, he got second time married, his second marriage was in 1948. And thereafter, we have a plethora of cases wherein intermarriages took place. Now, his intention was, through intercaste marriage or through intermarriages, there will be annihilation of caste or there will be eradication of caste. It's a substantial period, 70 years or 75 years period is a substantial period. What is the outcome of it in the last 70 years? Do you feel that this intermarriage phenomena has been successful, and to what extent in eradication of caste system? But if we refer to the phenomena in the country, we find that there are on and off cases of honor killing, and even it is shown in our Marathi movie in Mumbai and Maharashtra. Sairat is very much known in the whole country. So what is your observation on that? What exactly is the situation? To what extent we could succeed in this?
No, I have read Ambedkar on question of movement, but I think there are certain new points that I got from both the presentation. So this question for a clarification is to both of you. One is that the deprivation of women, denial of equal right, is also a caste issue, as you mentioned. That means that in order to preserve endogamy, that is not to allow the Brahmin woman and high caste woman to have inter-caste marriages, you develop certain systems. First is there is a restriction on inter-caste marriage, but to be able to have a double check, foolproof mechanism, that let's have a marriage when she is child, so that there is no scope for her to any other opportunity. If she became a widow, her husband died, let's bring the system of widowhood, and she remained like that. And if possible, if she can go along with her husband, Sati. Why this so much of harsh punishment? I think it has to do something with the caste, that is maintenance of caste system and endogamy. And then if there are relations, sexual relation, high caste, low caste, the punishments are a lot more severe. If you read Manusmriti, there are a lot more. Why so much of atrocities, so much of punishment for women? It seems to me that she is a potential source of who can break down endogamy, possibly. I would like to have your thinking on this, but there is another point to it, please, which Seema has brought out. That beside this, discourage endogamy, her personal rights are also taken. I mean, at least she should have been given personal right. For example, education. The high caste Brahmin has a right to education. The woman, high caste woman should have been given education, or right to property, or right to other. But even the personal right were taken away, like the untouchables. That's why the women are on par with untouchable with respect to right to education, right to property. I think it's very difficult. His analysis, the deprivation of women is so intense. Preservation of caste is one thing, but there are other.
This is very contemporary issues. This is an old issues, but it has the extension. Many scholars, they are working on the Ambedkar. When the student go for the register about the step of the research, for the research, they don't take that student and that to them. Because of you don't have the good language. That is kind of the discrimination. That is one of the great exclusion in the education. So we have to find it. We should search that. How many scholars there are, how many students from the V section of the society.
Thank you
We
for your
just go
comment.
to the equality.
I've just been told we have 10 minutes, otherwise we'll close the hall. So let me just end with those questions. I'm sure there are many more, but we will quickly ask our speakers to please respond to these, or would you like to?
I mean,
2.5 minutes. I think Mary would be the right person to, answer the first question. But I have few observations in terms of the Northeast and the whole issues of the policies of women, which I think I would like to individually discuss. The second question, which was raised, I think, which was dealing with the poor woman, uneducated woman. Yes, I do believe, but I think the ways in which the state is engaging with the issues of the education, I think, which is a very serious question. And I think if you look at and analyze each state, one would understand that is the state is responsible for that or not. And I think the third question, which I want to sort of argue and in response to Professor Thorat, that of course there is a positive discrimination which was there suggested by Ambedkar, but the ways in which I think the Manusmriti interpreted the laws, and I think that I would see that even having all constitutional rights, I think the whole debate, if you read it very carefully, that woman is a gateway to the religion, which Ambedkar very famously pointed out. And here is the whole question of the sexuality and the body, which has to be controlled. So this is again that the ways in which the state is imposing on us the whole ideologies. I think we should critically engage, and I think it's a very endless debate to have sort of, one cannot actually draw any sort of conclusion, but yes, I'm very happy that when some of the mainstream feminists like Mary, Uma, and the others are engaging into this mainstream discourse and raising the question on Brahminical ideologies. And and also the Brahminical patriarchy, which is operating through that, because it's again, it's basically the patriarchy. And one is not denying, because one is also not denying with that the policies or the laws are not patriarchal. The feminists are revisiting, if you look at, which Mary also, sort of taken the arguments from Vrinda Grover and Flavia Aguiles. It's very categorically mentioned by many scholars, including Mary, that laws itself are very patriarchal, and we need to reinterpret that.
Quick answer, there you are. Yeah. Quick answer, I don't know whether Ambedkar actually took on the Northeast at all. He did do something which we would all have a problem with when it came to matrilineal, which is what I think you were referring to in terms of the Khasis and the Garos. He was aware of matrilineal, and there were women from the Nair community and others from South India who were in the Constituent Assembly, and they did say that they didn't like the shape that the Hindu Code Bill was taking, because it was taking away some of their, because it was matrilineal descent, right? Property through the mother. So when you're talking equal property rights, you're actually changing that whole system. He said, look, you have these very women-friendly communities, but I'm afraid I want to see this agenda. I want to see the annihilation of caste, complete equality, and matrilineal will have to be lost in this. He was willing to say that much, even though there were many present who then had a quarrel with that. So so he would have probably done the same for the Garos, I think. BMMA Muslims today, this is our struggle, and I have to say I'm amazed at the ways in which the BMMA and others took on the triple talaq issue, and of course we've seen what the outcome has been, complete appropriation and criminalization. But these are the battles. Ambedkar was in fact warning that this would be the situation. He said sovereign nations, and he was right, Pakistan in its initial years did much more social reform for Muslim women than India ever did. So that was his argument. His argument was, this is the space within which social reform will happen. If you're condemned to minority status, men will constantly block it. In this case, we are seeing a very peculiar double problem, where a Hindu majoritarian state is going to give us will give us not gender justice. Whatever UCC ever comes our way will not be gender just. It will be a statement of Hindu majoritarianism. So we have a whole set of debates which I wonder, a situation that I wonder what Ambedkar would have said were he alive today and see this particular movement. Intermarriage, clearly there has been no solvent of caste through intermarriage. In any case, it's turned out to be more complex, I would say, than I think Ambedkar himself allowed for. I'm not very well informed, but I think it's very interesting that his second marriage did not go down well in the Dalit community, and his first wife was in fact held up, and there's much more iconization of the first wife than there is of the second. Also, I think people like Urmila Pawar have raised very interesting questions about the other story. Okay, what happens? Is it always the Brahmin woman and Dalit man, or what about the Dalit woman and the upper caste? Yeah, most of the cases. So, what is the intercaste dynamic, and what is the solvent of caste in a situation where Dalit women are marrying up? And why does it actually end up often being oppressive for Dalit women in such situations? So we have a long way to go here. I mean, I'm not trying to say that we shouldn't go there. That's surely not my point. See, the thing is that one of the things we should watch out for, though, and I mean, existing studies will tell you that let us be very clear, we live in the realm, and not because of Manu, we live in the 21st century. Endogamy, caste-based endogamy is alive and well. It will always be alive and well so long as most women have no chance for any economic independence. This is what I've said over and over again. We will have the caste system flourishing. It will flourish because of the economic policies of the present time. Otherwise it would have weakened by now, love marriages would have taken over. No, most young people today are going very deliberately for caste-based marriages based on parental negotiations. This is the sad state of the Indian nation today, and we should blame not just Manu for that. We should look more broadly as to what is it about our current socio-economic polity that is making us so unique in the world on this front. So I have lots to say on that. Child marriage, widowhood, the excessive misogyny, I don't know what word to, the excessive patriarchy that Brahmanism has shown. First, I think we should mitigate it a bit. White supremacist societies have had the worst kinds of controls over white women. Chinese society had its worst foot binding, you name it, ways of controlling its women. So controlling its women is, I'm sorry, very widespread, universal. We might ask ourselves, what is the additional, why is it that texts like the, Manusmriti and other texts come across as so excessive, so excessively misogynist? And that's where I think the caste issue comes up. I mean, we have to name it as caste rather than race or class. I believe that's true. On the other hand, my tendency is to say, look, we're in the 21st century, upper castes have been very clever. Today, the upper caste girls are being educated. They are not being married off as children. So this is the point I'm trying to make, that with the Hindu Code Bill and other kinds of changes, upper castes have seen a sea change. And we have to ask the question of illiteracy, we have to ask the many other questions that are condemning many others to not seeing that. If you look at child marriage today, it's predominantly rural, poor, lower caste families who are feeling the need to marry off their children too early. And to my mind, that is again a social but also economic question that we need to tackle. Whereas urban upper castes have been able to, as it were, transcend some of these more, horrific, more misogynist sorts of things. So I feel this is the kind of the struggle we have. Discrimination of students depending on what topic they want to choose. Yes, it's everywhere, but it's also changing. I'm much less pessimistic on that front. I'm in a teaching situation, the kind of topics students are now taking. You'd be very happy to hear the list of topics that students are now choosing. Thanks.
Okay, the final remark, let me thank the chairman, the speaker, and above all the participants who have been there for the last 2 days continuously sitting here. The only suggestion I want to share with you that we have a plan to bring out a book based on the 2-day seminar. So we will get back to you, some of you who are willing to write the papers. There will be one more round table where the willing writer will be brought together and we will plan the book, because it's a difficult issue. But let us wait. Thank you very much.